Well, hello everybody. Happy New Year. It is 2023. Can you believe that? Hard to believe, isn't it? Again, those are futuristic numbers that we heard as children that just seemed completely impossible. It just seems so far away and so science fiction-y, if you will. It just seemed impossible. But here we are. So this is the first Making It Simple of the brand new year. Looking forward to being with you. I'm excited about what God is going to do. Uh, in my life, He's opening some incredible doors. I'm very excited about that. But the one thing that I want to remain consistent with is our teaching. I love presenting the message, the word, the things that God has given me. I love sharing that with you. And for all of those who listen, for all of those who comment or share, thank you. Thank you. We ended off the year with a great message. We ended off the year with a great time. While a shorter period of time, I took a period of time off. I couldn't keep up the pace that we were at. But I am back, and Lord willing, Lord willing, and I don't want to say anything that I can't keep, but I intend to be with you Monday through Friday every week, if at all possible. I love doing this, and the feedback that I get is that it makes a difference, and that is why I do it. No other reason. I shared that in the message from the last message from last year that this is not about me. It's never been about me, and it never will be about me. This is about the truth of this message and the impact that it can have on our lives if we will allow it to. So we're going to begin a brand new series today on the word power. Power. I'm going to base this out of Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6 is how we're going to start. And we'll progress through that and into some other scriptures over the next several days, possibly week. I don't know how long this particular part of this series is going to last, but there's so much content here. Again, oftentimes scripture is familiar. Whether we are a person that is going to church a long time, or maybe we're an avid Bible reader, or maybe we're just someone that just sporadically hears things from now and then. Most everybody has heard John 3:16, whether they're, full-blown atheist or whether they're the Pope. It doesn't matter. We've had just that ability to communicate certain things, and that's just so certain scriptures become familiar, whether we understand them or whether we can recite them. It's like an old song that you hear on the radio. I've heard that before. Scripture's much the same way. I've heard that before somewhere. So today is one of those. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 6. Very simple. Be careful for nothing. Now, in this particular instance, how this word is used, be careful, is simply translated, don't worry about everything. Don't worry about everything. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto God. Well, Pastor, it's one of those things that I've heard, I'm familiar with, but man, oh man, is that easier said than done. Don't worry about anything. How do we get there? That's what we're going to talk about. The word power. Power. When we think about that word, we generally go to two different places. When we hear the word power, we either think of physical strength or electricity or some type of something that gives something the ability to move. Electricity, solar, whatever. We got all these different things today. Batteries, gas, but power. Something that generates motion or physical strength. I've got the power to move this rock or whatever. But do we stop ever to think about the power of the mind? How much power does it have? Now, I'm not talking about psychokinesis and moving spoons with your eyes and stuff that we see on TV. I'm not talking about that. Our thought life, what do you ponder on? What fills your thinking? Our thought life controls so much of what we do. Our thought life controls so much of how we think, how we operate, how we act. At times, it controls not only what we do, but who we are. And even more so, who others see. We talked about in some of our lessons from last year the importance of the visible witness. I talked many, many times about things being real and what others see, and that the importance of that, because remember, God hates a false witness. What do people see? Our thoughts and the things that we dwell on impacts that. It has everything to do with that. Burdens, cares, worries, anxieties, all these different things. How do these affect our power? How do these control our forward momentum? How do these get in the way of things? Because the cares of this life, the worries and burdens of this life, oftentimes make us powerless. How many times have you ever said these words? There's nothing I can do. I feel like I'm trapped. I'm stuck in this place. I'm helpless. I'm hopeless. I'm powerless. That is not how God designed us, friends. Not at all. Paul begins this passage. Very simple words. Even one, as I said earlier, of those statements that is easier said than done. He says, don't worry about everything. In fact, don't worry about anything, because he says, be careful. That, again, translated is worry. That's what that means. This is just how the King James translators wrote it. But don't worry for nothing. Now, nothing is one of those expansive words that covers everything. And again, that could be easily interpreted or moved to be anything. Don't worry about anything. Now, that's one of those statements that, again, we immediately say, well, how is that possible? The rent's due. The kids need shoes. This, that, I don't feel good. Mom's got this. We're constantly in battle with worry. Constantly. And indeed, that oftentimes reduces us to limited power, or in some cases, none at all. Be careful for nothing. Worry about nothing. How many of us struggle with that? Everybody right now that's watching is raising their hand. We all do. There's not one of us exempt. Not one. It's a natural part, I think, of the human condition that we don't allow our faith to impact. We have faith over here in that category of, yeah, I believe in God, God can do it, this, that, but is where the problem comes in. But is where it opens the door that will allow the conversation to include the but and the what if and the how to and the what for and all, leaving out, wait a minute, I have the ultimate power source over here. All that I ever need over here. But I don't rely on him. I rely on me. I rely on where I work. I rely on the news. I rely on this politician. I rely on this. I rely on that to tell. I rely on my doctor. I rely on everything to tell. And then we wonder why we're so consumed with worry. It's no, and I've said this before, but it's no coincidence. It is by design that every other or at least third commercial on television is for a pill. This will fix your problem. Now, I'm not anti-medicine or anti-doctor, but I am an extremist when it comes to the limitations of that. In my own life, I don't give that prescription to anybody else. That's for me. That's for me, Pastor Andy. I deal with that for myself because I just don't trust a lot of that stuff. But that's neither here nor there. Paul says here, if you are allowing worry to consume you, then none of the rest of this stuff really matters because you don't think outside of that. It stops you. How many of us struggle with that? It can become a real issue. It can become an extremely real, focusing on the problem. When that becomes our continual focus, when that boulder that's in the middle of the road is there, and all we can see is the boulder, rather than how do I move it? I can't get to the other side and get to the place that I need to get as long as that's there. But if I just focus on the boulder, guess what? It's going to continue to be there, and I'm going to continue to be behind it in park. I got to figure out how to move it. If we continue to focus on the problem, it weakens our faith. Now, why do I say that? If we continually focus on the issue rather than the solution, nothing gets done to make it better. Nothing. Again, it's like looking at the weights in the gym, but you never pick one up. You look at them, you're sitting on the bench, and you're looking at them, but you never pick one up. You're never going to get stronger. You're never going to get more fit. You're never going to feel better if that is your goal to do. I used to use this reference all the time. There's a difference in going by the gym and in the gym. That's just one of the things that kind of goes through my mind because I enjoy that stuff, the health things and stuff, taking care of yourself. But worries and burdens and cares and all, they drain us, friends. They drain us of our potential. They drain us of the potential of the mind. We have, or we're called to have, the mind of Christ. We are created in the image of God. That is not just our physicality and what we look like, what our structure is, how tall we are, what color we are, what kind of hair we have or don't have, or what. No. What is our makeup? Emotions and love and care and all the. We're created in the image of God. Therefore, we're able to do the things that God says we can do, but we allow other things to get in the way. And one of the greatest obstacles that gets in our way is worry and fear and discouragement and anxiety and depression and all the things that this world offers on a continual, almost non-stop basis. That is why it is so important that we're mindful of what we consume. I talked about it in the last series. What are we feeding on? If we want to grow, we gotta feed on good things. If our thinking can get redirected, if our thinking can be positioned in the right place, it changes everything. Because if not, If our thinking remains only on the problem, it will begin to consume us. It will begin to take over our life, and that's all we'll dwell on. Many people then I've worked with and counseled with over the years, that's where they got stuck. And I don't say that in any kind of critical way at all. A lot of people around us, you may not even know them, obviously. We don't know all of our neighbors. We don't know the people that pass us by on the street or in a store. But many people are in this battle, and it is a battle for their life. They have been consumed with the issue, with the worry, with the doubt, with the this, with the that. And it doesn't allow them to seek a solution or even to believe that one exists. That's why Paul here says, be anxious for nothing. Don't worry about anything. Be careful for nothing. We've all heard the saying, don't let this moment pass you by. Sometimes it's been a sales pitch. Sometimes it's at the end of a good sermon. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to take part in something. But at the same time, don't let this moment pass you by also deals with distraction. We become consumed with worry, and in the process of doing so, we lose sight of life. And life never stops. Life continues whether you decide to move out of park or out of neutral or not. If you decide to sit behind the boulder and watch the sun go up and down and continue to sit there, that's exactly where you'll be. That's where worry places us. That's where grief and all the other things that consume our lives, that's where it keeps us. It keeps us parked. And when we become consumed by that, we don't be productive at all. And in the process of doing so, we lose sight of life. And even more so, we lose sight of the giver of life. In fact, we don't even consider him at all. And when we do that, we become powerless. Everything around me right now is powered. All these lights. If I unplug them from their power source, it goes dark. When we become unplugged or never plug into our power source, the power and might of God, when we refuse that, when we reject that, when we become so consumed with everything else that we don't consider that, we remain powerless. Life has a never-ending supply of issues. We all know that. It's a brand new year, just starting yesterday. The calendar rolled over, the clock struck 12:01, whatever the case, and it became a brand new year, a whole new 365 days, which offers opportunity, which offers adventure. It offers this, it offers that. But the one thing that it doesn't do, it doesn't alleviate the problems of life. They continue year after year after year. That's not a negative statement. That's not a pessimistic statement. That's just true. As the clock rolled over, we begin a brand new opportunity to have another year, another 365 days before us. But life still has its issues, whether it's health issues that you had on December 31st, you may have still had them on January the 1st. Family issues, financial issues, world issues. Lord knows they continue. Tragedies and so on and so on. But Paul here says, don't worry about that stuff. Understand the differential in caring and worrying. We don't say, I don't care about this or that. No. Compassion and care is a part of what we're going to be talking about, why that matters. But the consuming power of worry robs and steals. It doesn't allow us to be able to have the ability to care, because when we care, we'll do something about it. When we say, I don't care because I can't do anything about it, that's when it becomes problematic for our lives. because then we're not being helpful. We're not being beneficial to God. We're not being beneficial to those that need to hear about God, or we're not being beneficial to ourselves, that we ourselves need the presence and power of God. Paul says here, we need a carefree mind if we're going to exercise and walk in the power of God. Carefree, not meaning I don't care, but I am not consumed with worry. I am not going to be consumed with worry. How is this possible? Can we do it? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. But just like everything else, it's a process. It takes time. It takes effort. And we'll talk about what that means and how we get there starting tomorrow. So this is the introduction to our series on power. I hope you'll be intrigued by what we're going to talk about. Go back and read that verse. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Every single word in that passage has a meaning. And we're going to talk about it over the next several days. God bless you. Happy New Year. It's going to be great.